Hi, I'm Susan. I'm an American. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area in California, and I'm an international teacher in Taizhou, Zhejiang province here in China. Gosh, it's nearly 4 years now that I've been here in China. You know, I just have fallen in love with China and the people here. I really do enjoy my work, but overall, it's really the really easy lifestyle here in China that has kept me. Well, I came to live and work in community here in China. So my motivation was a little different. I fell in love with teaching, but originally I wanted to see what it was like to live and work abroad in a different country. And my expectation, well, I think it was maybe limited until I lived here. And I think it's because it's been so great and it's exceeded what I thought that I've remained here now for nearly 4 years. Well, originally I was thinking about Spain, but I received a connection with a gentleman on LinkedIn, actually, that is another American who has lived and worked in China for a number of years. And we became good acquaintances, and he told me what a good experience it was for him, not just personally, but professionally. And so, yeah, I think that's what drew me here to China. Luckily for me, it has worked for me that I don't have to speak Chinese. But I think when you live and work with people, it's best to learn their language. I'm kind of thick-skulled, so it's been a little difficult for me in really mastering the spoken language. I can understand a lot of Chinese now, but it's hard for me with the tones to speak clearly to people. And you know, Chinese people are really kind, and they always want to make it work out, the communication between us. So no, you don't have to speak Chinese to live and be happy here. I love the way that we eat family style, every single meal. Everybody shares the food at the table. When I've eaten in people's homes, they bring the food to the table dish by dish, and everybody's either seated or standing around, maybe a bowl of rice in hand, and picking with chopsticks over and around each other, and it's always a lot of fun. So that's the first thing that I really like about Chinese culture, is that family style eating. And then I really have found that Chinese people are really generous and very kind to me. They've taken really good care of me when we've traveled together, when they've invited me into their homes. There's a real warmth of Chinese people that kind of mirrors a little bit of the way we are in America, but in a beautifully different way. In my previous work, I worked with many immigrants, people from different countries, but I was in my home country. When I've come to live in a different country where I'm the guest, it's a hugely different experience. So for me, not only is the job different, the career, the industry is different, but I've really learned valuable skills in being a better listener, being really aware and cognizant of my communication and what I'm saying. A slower pace. I come from an area where it's real fast-paced in the California Bay Area. So here in China, as a foreigner, as a guest in this country, I've really learned to slow things down and listen better, consider things a little bit more, maybe just to not talk as much. I think those are good skills, yeah. Now that I've been here almost 4 years, I can find most everything I need, usually shopping online. Some of the things I eat are a little different, but my personal items that I use, I have found most everything now. At the beginning, though, it was really difficult. And I only brought maybe 3 months worth of supplies. But, you know, when you have a need that necessitates kind of finding things, you do. You figure it out. And I've done pretty well in that way, yeah. I'm a tall woman, and I'm kind of curvy, and I have big feet. So some of those things have been hard to find, like shoes have been a little difficult to find, but I found my sources. And so now I've got no problem finding shoes and boots and, you know, the proper footwear for different seasons and things. First and foremost, I am a teacher. And I work at a school that is focused on what we call kids and teens. The primary age group in our school is kindergarten to primary school. So we have a large number of, say, like 3 to 8-year-olds in my school. That's pretty much the bulk of my business. And the biggest part of my job every day is working with kids. I teach about 120 kids every week. And so I have about 13 classes that I teach. And it's a lot of fun. You know, it was a new career for me, a new job, teaching. And so it's still on-the-job learning, but at the beginning it was a lot of on-the-job learning. And it's not, at EF we teach all aspects of English, but we really focus on communicating, even with the babies, and teaching them very useful English language. And so that's the biggest part of my job, planning classes and activities in the classes that will be engaging for really young learners and having fun, you know, learning English. That's mostly what it is. It's all education, all teaching, but it's really having a lot of fun with little kids. So that the Director of Studies focuses on the quality of that teaching, how our students are engaged. We want to have a lot of student-to-student interaction. So Directors of Study, we visit classrooms and observe teaching. We watch for interaction patterns. We're aware of what the class aims are in terms of language. And we help the teachers do a better job at that. We also work on training and development, and we do that working with the bigger EF corporate, but also locally, what's interesting for teachers, what are our individual teaching teams, what areas they need help in. And we provide training, maybe peer training, maybe senior teacher or DOS training. And yeah, that's kind of rounds it out. So the job is twofold. Directors of Study have a teaching load, so we are responsible for classes, but we're also responsible for the academic quality at a teaching center. Yeah, you know, I think it's sharing English as a foreign language. In China, it's hugely impactful on the student, but that ripple effect goes to families and it goes out into our communities. When these youngsters gather the ability to communicate in a second language and English, their whole world changes. And interacting with foreign teachers, the students don't just interact with us, their grandparents do, their parents do. We have activities outside of class that we do at school, Halloween parties. We just had Halloween. We celebrate every week. At our school, we have, we call them life clubs. We have special events that are always hosted by a foreign teacher. So the students get to see ambassadors from English-speaking countries around the world, and their life is changed. For me, that's huge, really impacting someone's life in a meaningful way for not just a moment, which we certainly do, but for their lifetime, they are changed. And you know what? Likewise for me, as a visitor in China and as a teacher of English to these Chinese kids every day, my life is changed in positive ways that really are just immeasurable. You know, it's a fun story. I wanted to work internationally, and I wanted to live and work internationally. So I didn't want to live in America and travel back and forth between continents or something like that. I really wanted to live in community. And I wasn't thinking of teaching English, but the opportunity came to me. And it was for working with EF. And I began to do some research through my professional network. And every single person that I spoke with that worked for EF had everything positive to say about their experience. And then a really interesting thing, it's been about maybe, I can't even say, a number of years that my family actually hosted a young man in our home with EF. And I had forgotten that until I was doing my research about EF, and then, like a light bulb goes off, you know? And so EF has actually been in my little spherical world for a very long time. And yeah, so that's how it came to me. Well, you know, I think interpersonally, when you work and live in another country, you have to be, if you're not already, adaptable and flexible. You learn to be this way. You really almost have to be, because you're in a place that's so incredibly different from where you come from. And most likely, you're by yourself. Even as you meet people, you're still living alone. And so you have to become adaptable, flexible. You really hone that skill. You have to become really self-reliant and confident in yourself and your ability to make really important decisions, because you're not at home. You're in a different country if you have to get health care, or even just managing your budget, you know? And so those are really important things that happen internally for us that are life-changing, and they're transferable skills to work. But also, the world is going everywhere global. University classrooms, whether it's your bachelor's degree or your master's or your doctorate, you know, it's most likely that you'll be doing some sort of engagement with people in another part of the world, whether through technology. All companies, it seems today, there's a global focus in some way. We can't really almost escape it. Even small towns are affected in this way. So working abroad in a different country, and the changes we go through personally, wow, how that manifests in such positive ways in work is, there's nothing but positive about it, for sure. Oh, there's, I think, a couple or many things that I would want to say. I would say, first of all, come with an open mind and an open heart. China, for me, coming from America to China, it's very different country, even infrastructure-wise. When I first arrived, the first people I met reminded me that China is a developing country. And I kind of giggled a little inside, because I think most everything I used back home was probably manufactured in China. But it's such a growing country that roads and surfaces are always being repaired or in need of repair. The growth in China, the population growth and the growth of cities is so quick that change happens and construction is happening all of the time. It's much different than back home. And things are done differently in every city that you'll live in, where back in America there's kind of common regulations for building and infrastructure things that don't seem really to be here. That was a big difference for me, to become accustomed to that. And by that I mean even like silly thing like stair height or the stair width. It can be different from staircase to staircase in China, right? And where back home, my body has it memorized, what is it, a 6-inch rise or something, so you can bound up steps easily. For me back home, here in China, I take my time and make my way upstairs in kind of a way. The way of doing everything is different. And I think the biggest difference is that I'm a guest here. You're a guest in this country. And so we have to be aware of that and be polite. And that means, going back to an earlier comment about being a good listener and having an opinion, but maybe not always saying it. These are things I think that are important to know before you come to China. And luckily for me, before I came, I had a real good mentor that gave me the same advice. Be a listener. Some topics you probably won't talk about in Chinese company. And many things are different in China in terms of infrastructure were the two biggest things for me. Yeah. And so come with an open mind, come with an open heart, be ready to introduce yourself and be ready to meet new things and new people every day.